guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 25, the OUGH pattern with O. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your orange book open to page 155. You will also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your paper. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video and catch up. So you'll notice this week we have a mix of one-syllable and two-syllable words. I've already gone ahead and broken our two-syllable words into chunks. Across, frolic, frosty, lacrosse, offer, often. In my key, I used a brown vertical line to signify the syllable breaks. If you would like to mark your list up, go ahead and do that now. All right, so this is our second week talking about the OUGH pattern. I think this is probably the trickiest vowel sound we have in our language. That OUGH sound is not short, it's not long, it's not an R-controlled vowel. There are many, many different ways to spell that OUGH sound. Last week, we talked about patterns that use A. So the AUGH in words like caught and taught, the AL in words like false and salt, the AW in words like saw and draw. There are lots of different ways to make that OUGH sound using an A. Well, today we're going to discover that there's just as many ways to make that OUGH sound using an O. On this list, you are going to find 7 different OUGH patterns that use O. Some of them are really common and you'll want to work hard to memorize them because you'll see them in a lot of words. And some of them are not very common. For instance, the OA in broad. This is the only time you're ever going to use OA to make an OUGH sound. So it's best to just memorize that word and then forget about it. Okay, but let's start by reading our list. As we do, look for the O and listen for that OUGH sound. Please repeat after me. Across. Bossy. Oh my goodness, I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot to mark this one too. Bossy. Let's start again. Across, bossy, bought, broad, brought, cough, fought, frolic, frosty, lacrosse, offer, often, ought, thought, trough. Did you hear that ah in each word? Great. Okay, so let's start with a very common pattern, and that is the OSS in across. Now, you already worked on this in 2nd grade with words like toss, loss, boss, floss, gloss. Okay, it's a really good pattern to know. It shows up today in words like across, bossy, and lacrosse. Okay, whenever you see that OSS together, I want you to remember that it's going to make an ah sound. So OSS, and it makes an ah s sound. You do hear the S in there, ah s. Okay, now another common pattern is OST. We see it in frosty. We also see it in words like cost and lost. So maybe it's actually not that common because honestly, aside from cost, lost, and frost, I don't see it in smaller words, but you do see it in bigger words like Boston or hostile. So just keep that in mind, okay? That OST can make an ah sound. So OST sounds like ah, Notice I say it can make an OST sound because OST can also make a long O sound in words like most and post and host. So that's kind of a tricky one. All right, now speaking of tricky, let's look at this OUGH pattern. You've seen OUGH so many times this year. It actually has 6 different sounds. It can make a long O sound in words like though, an OO sound in words like through. Now we're going to notice that when it is followed by T, it makes an OT sound. Bought. We see it again in brought. We see it again in fought and ought and thought. So that's a really good chunk to memorize because I know that OUGH has lots of different sounds, but when it is followed by a T, it's going to make an ought sound. Bought, brought, fought, ought, thought. Now, when that OUGH is by itself at the end of a word, like cough or trough, what happens there? Yeah, suddenly this sound appears, right? So cough and trough end with OUGH, but for some crazy reason, the sound appears. Cough, trough. Now, that's really weird because this word ends with OUGH, but it's pronounced dough, like cookie dough. This word ends with OUGH, but it's pronounced ooh, as in through. Okay, so just because a word ends with OUGH doesn't mean it's going to have a sound. You just need to memorize that for cough and trough. Okay, so we've got 4 patterns down, 3 to go. Told you, this pattern is crazy. Broad. Broad means wide, right? Like we think about the American flag having broad stripes. Now, most people would think that's pronounced broad, right? But it's not. For some reason, in our language, in that word only, the OA makes an AW sound. All right. Now, we also have 2 more patterns. We have the OL in frolic. I think you guys are already familiar with the OLL pattern in words like doll, right? Pollen, dollar, hollow. So you already know that OLL can make the all sound, but sometimes we just use one L. So in words like frolic or solid, olive, colony, we're going to use just one L. I'm going to say it, but I'm going to put both here just so that we're aware that OL or OLL, they both make that all sound. Okay? Now something similar happens with OF. We have the OF in offer. We have the OF in often. And I think that's it. But you see that pattern in other words like off or soft, profit, coffee. Okay? So just like the L, if you see OF by itself or OFF, it's going to make the off sound. Okay? So, lots of patterns this week, but they all have an O and they all make that AW sound. Okay, let's go through our vocabulary right now and we will mark off the parts of speech as we talk about the word's meaning. So, let's start by looking for verbs. Remember, verbs are action words, things that we do. For instance, the word bought. Now I buy some food. Yesterday I bought some food. There's no such word as buy, right? Buy becomes bought. It's an irregular, this right here is an irregular past tense. Same thing with brought, right? Now I bring in my homework. Yesterday I brought in my homework. No such word as bringed or brang, right? It's brought. Bring becomes brought. Cough is a verb, right? That's something we do when we have gunk in our chest. We try to cough to get it out. Fought is another past tense. It's the past tense of fight, right? Now I fight. Yesterday I fought. Frolic is another word for play, right? They talk about kids who frolic and play in the sunshine. It just means they run around and have fun. So that is definitely a verb. Offer can be a verb, right? If you offer something, can I give you a glass of water? I'm offering you a drink. That is a verb. Ought is a verb. Ought means should. It always comes before another verb. Like, I ought to finish my homework. I ought to go to bed. I ought to do some housework. So ought means should. Thought is another verb. Thought is the past tense of think. Notice this week we're getting lots of practice with irregular past tenses. Now I think. Yesterday I thought. Okay, so those are our verbs. Now let's look for some nouns. Remember, nouns can be people, places, or things. So a cough can be a noun if somebody has a bad cough. That's a thing. Lacrosse is a thing because that's a sport that some kids play, right? You have a stick with a basket on it and you throw the ball and catch it with the stick and you try to score a goal. So that's a noun. Offer can be a verb, but it can also be a noun, like, oh, he made me the best offer. I was trying to sell my old car and I got a great offer. That is a noun. Trough. A trough is a feeding dish. If you go to a farm, you might notice all the pigs and the cows, they all come to the trough because that's where the farmer leaves fresh water and food scraps and hay and that sort of thing. So a trough is a long, skinny feeding dish. So we have lots of nouns here. All right, let's also talk about adjectives. Adjectives are describing words. So for instance, bossy is an adjective. It describes a person who tells you what to do all the time. Broad is an adjective, right? It describes the stripes on a person's shirt or on the flag. They are broad stripes. Frosty is an adjective, right? You might take a frosty mug out of the freezer to pour your drink into. So if it's frosty, it's got ice or frost on it. And then that's it. Now we do have an adverb this week. We haven't really talked about adverbs too much, but often is an adverb. Adverbs add detail to a verb. So often describes how often you do something, like I exercise often, I eat healthy meals often. So that would be an adverb. Across is actually, we haven't talked about this at all, but across is a preposition. A preposition describes where something is happening. Under, over, around, between, behind, across. Those are all prepositions. Okay, so we talked about what all of our words mean. So now I just quickly want to go over a couple activities with you. When you get to page 158, you are going to review some common irregular verbs. You're going to you're going to look at your word bank, and if it's a past tense verb like brought or bought or fought, if it describes something that already happened, you're going to put it here. If it's a present tense verb, if it describes something that's happening now, like bring or fight or think, you're going to put it here. Notice there are some words here from last week as well. Teach and taught, catch and caught, okay? And then when you get to the next page, you're going to have practice with homophones. Remember, homophones are two or more words that sound the same but are spelled differently. Now, we don't have any homophones on our list this week, but last week we did. We had words like pause and pause, haul and haul. So all of your homophones this week are going to have that ah sound, and you're just going to have to decide which one fits. So for instance, my brother taught me how to play a new video game. Do we spell it T-A-U-G-H-T or do we spell it T-A-U-T? These are both real words. Only one of them means to teach, okay? So if you're not sure about the spellings, use a dictionary, look it up on your phone or your computer, or ask an adult, okay? All right, that's all I have for you today. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.